Yeah, I forgot that. All right, let's do the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Yeah, shut that door, Craig. Yeah. All right, well, Mr. Chairman, after your February 24th joint work session with the school board, you asked the school board to go back and look at three different scenarios as far as pay raises were concerned, 10% for teachers, and the three scenarios were 10% for everybody, 10% for teachers, 7% for everybody, and 10% for teachers, and 5% for everybody. Since that work session, the school board has held their public hearing on their proposed budget. They have also adopted their proposed budget. And you asked that they come back and present those three options to you so you'd have a better understanding of it. And apparently there was some confusion in how they would come back. I think Dan and the school folks thought that it would be another joint work session, but I did not advertise this meeting as such. Therefore, that's why you don't see the table set up in front of you as a joint work session, because it wasn't advertised as such, and I don't want the paper saying that we had an illegal meeting. So the only thing I would ask would be that no more than two school board members participate in any discussion that goes back and forth, so that we don't have to worry about that. So having said that, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Russell, and he can bring you up to date on where the school is right now. And well, they had this in front of them, which Whitney sent me. It's all the options, as well as the totals. They had the hard copy in front of them.
I think first I'd like to start off by saying the 24th was a very refreshing meeting, the support that we felt for the school division, so thank you for that. I know some questions came up about looking at different scenarios. I don't believe, yes, I do have that. Before you, you'll have the additional options. The local ask, which would include what we presently had in there, 8.5 plus a step for teachers for a total of 10%. That option one would be 277,091 local ask. That includes a 5% for teachers, or for everyone else. The second option, again, is 10% total for teachers and 7% for everyone else. The local ask is 368,886. And option 3 is a 10 and 10 for a total of 506,579. I did recommend to the board that they adopt the 10 and 10 because that does allow you to appropriate less and vote for less, so that wouldn't require us to go back. But we also understand that even in the month that we've had the discussions, some times have changed. So just want you to know that we are hopeful that we at least get our original proposal, and I still want to advocate for teacher salaries and putting certified teachers in the classroom, but we also want you to know, and I think I can speak for the board, that we know the tough position you're in too, and we're going to be grateful for whatever you decide to give us. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from anyone? Okay, no questions. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, do we?
I mean, did you have any questions for any school board members or anything? Just a maximum of 2.
Okay, I don't think anybody have any
I
questions.
had a question for 3 of them, so I'll wait.
So this is something we act on when we,
Yes, now, your calendar that you adopted at your January meeting has you holding your public hearing on the school budget alone at your regular March 31st meeting. I need to advertise one time on March 24th. I'm assuming that you all are okay with me advertising what the school board has adopted, because you can always approve something less than that, but you
half of it.
Code of Virginia require, you won't, when you have your public hearing on the 31st, you'll just be taking public input. Code of Virginia requires that you wait at least 7 days before acting on it. So you've also set April 14th as your date to adopt a school budget.
All right, good. All right, Mr. Russell, thank you very much for this, doing this. All right, appreciate it.
If I may, may I approach again? I don't know how this is gonna work with how things are coming across this year, but in the past, there has been a time when there was a consensus on teacher salary, so we can move forward with advertising and recruiting. So I don't know where that places you, or even if it's some feedback that we can get that's informal. And I know a few members are new, but it's just something to think about, because when we roll into the last of April, we're already recruiting as we speak with recruiting fairs. So that would be the only thing I'd ask you consider as you're compiling all of this. And I don't know how that would work this year, but.
So I do have a question. So do our, and I know our teachers have the steps in place. Do the other employees have steps, or just the teachers?
Well, the answer is no, we don't have the steps, because every year we would go off of that step in order to give a 2 or 3, because, you know, we're trying to keep up with.
For all staff, or?
For the rest of the staff. For
Okay.
teachers, it actually is. So every year when we propose whatever percent plus the step for the teachers to make that total. Essentially, what we do is we're bumping up the bottom of the scale for all other staff, but we don't necessarily have that scale nailed down. It's one of the things that we've been trying to work on, but the problem is, once we do that, then it's hard for us to negotiate as we're getting people to come in. We do try to keep it aligned and everyone on the similar, but it's a never-ending process of moving things, so. It is a goal of ours to do that.
Okay.
Go back to option 3. What was what did you say the county part of that, the local funding was?
$506,579.
Yeah, I thought okay.
And this, gentleman, is based off of the governor's budget. There are 2 other versions, House and Senate. So this could swing a little bit either way. Certainly, I will come back and give you the adjustments on that, but.
So we want to look out for our teachers, and we talked about getting the starting teacher salary up to a level that's competitive. So I can appreciate the 10% for the teachers. It's the other staff members that I see as that we'll look at with our county. So whatever they get, I feel that the rest of the county should be in that range, if not equal to it. So that's where I will be deciding, I guess, what we need to do.
Well, and I think, you know, for us, it was, the question came up. It is hard to differentiate between the value of employees. Some of it's based on education, and it's a tough place to be, but, you know, we have to fill vacancies, we have to get competitive, we have to improve the product in the classroom and the product we're, you know, sending out our doors, so. It's tough. It's tough to stand up here and advocate more for one, especially in COVID. I mean, everyone has had to pitch in. It's been an amazing time as a team, but it's also something we must do, because in order to keep everyone the same, we're going to, surrounding counties, the salaries just keep going up. And I forget the county, it was shared with me, maybe by one of our members, but you know, it's within driving distance here, and their starting salary is going to be $51,000.
Oh, wow.
And their master's degree is $53,600. Don't remember the name of that.
That's not a Northern Next school, though?
No, but it's in the Williamsburg area, or So, I mean, we're just in a situation, the last thing I want to do is advocate, especially, I mean, the month has been a huge turn financially, economically, and, you know, for the whole world right now. So we also still have to advocate, but we also want you to know, we know the position you're in. So we're sure you're going to do the best you can for us, and it's a good relationship, and there may be a point where you decide, do this, and then if I need to come back to you, we've always had that relationship, I can do that too. So, and I'm willing to do whatever you guys. I would just ask that if there's some point in the very near future that we can get some indication for teachers, so we'll know what we can put down as our starting salary moving forward. I don't know how you
Because
do
if
that.
we use option 3, according to what I'm seeing, the starting salary would be 45,800.
Yes, sir.
Option 2 is the same thing.
Well, that would be for option 1, 2,
That's
and
the
3.
same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the same. It's the same for
That's the
all of
same
them.
for, the
teacher.
teacher's starting salary is the same for 3 options.
Yeah.
Well, you also have the option, I'm assuming, to go back to what my original proposal was.
Yeah.
Or somewhere in between.
And if we went back to your original proposal, then, because I think the state is recommending 5 and 5.
Yes, sir.
All right, so next year will make up the difference. Not next year, but the following year after, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Where were you, Dan, on the original proposal for teachers? What was that number? Do you remember?
The starting salary was 44,546.
I also have figures with me
44.
if you wanted to consider reaching the $45,000 goal this year, which I brought that up the last time, so I could tell you what that would be. That goal was originally, and I think that would probably put us more in line if you're looking to have to come down.
Yeah, what was that?
I'm going to say on record, I would prefer 10 for teachers, but I'm willing to work. If that would put a total 6.57 plus a step for teachers, and it would be 8.07. And then if you were to do 5% for everyone else, I'm going off the governor's budget now because there's a gap between the other two, and most of the time it falls in the middle, but 5% for all others would be 159,498, asked from the locality.
Say that again.
159,498. 6% for all others is 205,396. And then I did an 8% for all others to make it very comparable. That's 297,191. I say I did that. Actually, I had other people do that. I didn't do that. Sorry. Don't
297,
want to take credit where it's not due.
297, 291,
191.
190.
So I think there are a lot of different options. Again, just want you to know, we're going to be grateful wherever that lands.
When do you start recruiting? Is it
We're,
now?
we're doing that now. What we've had to say for the past 3 weeks is we're going to be hopefully somewhere in the range of what we proposed to 10%. We just haven't nailed that down. And we actually have been able to recruit some
Oh.
3 or 4 teachers, so.
Based on the 8%.
Based on that and some assistance from some of the endowments in the community that allow us to have partnerships with colleges, so.
Can we do that, Don? Can we give a commitment before it's approved?
The way it's been done in the past, it's not by formal vote. It was just a consensus that the board is okay with.
That's probably something we can do at our regular meeting.
Yeah.
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 I think so, okay.
Yeah.
Is that enough time for you?
Yes, sir, whatever. I mean,
Okay.
I think we're at a time when we all need to work together, right?
Yep.
So your timeline can be our timeline. Thank you for your time. Any more questions or?
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, Glenn, can you give me PC2? All right, well, following on what Dan said, because the school board adopted the 10 and 10, I have put 10% in across the board in this draft version that you will see, because I too will say publicly that I believe my employees are worth 10% as well. So, every bit of it. So this, you know, you may look at this as a worst-case scenario, so to speak, this version of the budget that I'm going to show you tonight. So to start with, I think this is the place to start right here, is the fund balance that we had from our audited financials FY '21. You remember from their January meeting when Paul Lee was here, he said that our fund balance was pretty healthy. And but what I want to show you is, and we're going to go into depth on these other areas in a little while, but what I want to show you is if you fund the 10 and 10 across the board, this is what the fund balance is going to look like at the end of FY '23. It's going to drop by over 1.5 million. Now that's, while funding at 10 and 10 is doable, it comes with some consequences, and this is the consequence. Something to consider and think about is the board adopted a few years ago not to let this number get below 7%. And we know in conversations with our treasurer that once the fund balance drops below 6 million, we more than likely will have to get a short-term revenue anticipation note to carry the cash flow from September to when tax collections start coming in November. So with this scenario, the fund balance will fall below that 6% threshold. So you'll see in the entire budget presentation tonight that I have included some debt service for a revenue anticipation note under this scenario. So I will tell you that this budget, in addition, is built on existing tax rates. It's built on the 63-cent real estate tax to $2.04 personal property tax. So again, you could look at this as a worst-case scenario. Any comments or questions right now about that? All right. On the revenue side, this column here is the estimated FY '23, and all of my estimated FY '23 are based on actual FY '21s. As I told you that there's no change in the tax rate. And so you may be wondering, how can we have an increase if there's no change in the tax rate? And the reason is because even though there's no change in the tax rate, the taxable value of property in the county changes yearly, even without a general reassessment. And the reason that happens is because part of the job of the Commissioner of Revenue's office is to gather the building permits from the prior year, go out, look at all the improvements, and assess a value to those improvements. So this number is based on her most recent assessment, including the improvements, and therefore the value has gone up based on those improvements, so there is an increase here. Likewise, real estate taxes for public service corporations as well, a small increase. Personal property taxes, used vehicles are selling at a higher price than ever, and you know, the value of the personal property vehicles has increased. So again, even though this budget is built on the 204, you're going to see an increase based on the increased valuation of the vehicles. As you go down the line, you'll see that my numbers are very close to the actuals from FY '21. And then this number here, total general property taxes, transfers over to the synopsis page, the first line item, and there's the increase of $523,831. As we go further along into other local taxes, local sales and use tax, you know, there's an increase here, again, based on actuals from FY '21. You can see others as well. I'm not sure how much you want to go into depth with this, but the cigarette tax, I'm chairman of the Northern Neck Chesapeake Bay Region Cigarette Tax Board. We had our quarterly meeting today. There's 8 jurisdictions, including Lancaster. There are 2 more that want to join our board. That's Accomack and Caroline. Things are going well. This was an estimate that I came up with last year based on the collections we've gotten from September through January. I think this is a good estimate. So I've left that there. The lodging tax, this is short-term rental, registry fee and tax. The tax is 2%. So that's based on actual numbers as well. Permits and licenses, animal licenses, dog tags, abandoned vehicle permits. We've got 3, I guess for lack of a better term, junkyards, and the language in our ordinance states it's $2 per year. So that's where that $6 come from, and that's been there forever. So you'll see land use application fees and building and land use permits. That really could be combined into one line item. The thing that I want to point out here is you'll see what we budgeted for building permits in FY21 was $110,000. You see what our actuals were, almost double. And so you'll see my projection for FY23 is here. I'm going to have something else to say about this later on when it comes to staffing in the Building and Land Use Department. Wetlands permits, mixed beverage permits. This refuse disposal fee, that was the tire fee that we used to collect from everyone before they carried their tires up to Ronnie Self's to dispose of. The board a few years ago did away with that. And we still charge businesses that are in the business of selling tires. We still charge them a fee, and so there's, it's a small gain there. Fines and forfeitures, again, based off of actual numbers. Revenues from use of money and property. This is where the treasurer has really done a great job over the past several years. I mean, she searches out and finds the best place for our money to sit to earn interest. A lot of times it's the Virginia Investment Pool, which is a state-run organization, but she also monitors the local banks, and she moves the money around and captures the best interest. And this number here has really gone up over the past several years. Charges for services, again, you can see the one I want to point out here is right here, ambulance and rescue fees. We charge for the ambulance services that the county paid staff provides. We have folks at the Northern Neck Planning District Commission that handles that billing for us and collections. This number has gone up tremendously. It was around 300,000, and you can see where it's at now. So they're doing a good job for us, the billing agency. They collect a 5% fee, which is the same that they do for managing the cigarette tax for us as well. Sanitation and waste removal, this is from the cardboard recycling that we sell. Cardboard is the only recyclable that generates any revenue for the county. Currently, the recyclables, the plastic, the aluminum, we haul them to Right Way Recycling in Northumberland County. We actually pay him to take them. So you'll see in the capital improvement budget later on, not tonight, because that is at the Planning Commission next Thursday night for public hearing, but there's a proposal to expand the Kimono Convenience Center site. And as part of that proposal, we're looking to take over a lot of these recyclables on our own. And the same place that purchases our cardboard has said that they will also purchase the plastic, the mixed paper, the aluminum as well. So we have the opportunity to generate additional revenue there. This is gifts and donations. You'll see I don't have a whole lot of numbers here because I don't know if these will materialize in FY '23. I mean, these are gifts and donations or refunds. CSA is Children's Services Act. So usually, I mean, we've stuck with a $40,000 figure for miscellaneous revenue. There is an old Virginia Resource Authority bond that the county took out in 2010 that was part of the Honeywell school performance contract. And there's a feature with that has an interest rebate. And so in FY '23, you'll see, I'm estimating $14,100 for that. I doubt you'll see, I left $1,500 in here. The Health Department recovered costs is from when the Health Department doesn't stay fully staffed during the year, and they don't utilize all the funds that the county provides for them, so we get those back when they don't stay fully staffed. So again, based on actual numbers. Our Housing Department is partially funded through the Virginia Housing Development Authority, commonly sometimes referred to as Section 8, and we look at being reimbursed for about $34,000 with that. Total revenue from local sources, again, that transfers over to the synopsis page. This is just a local portion. This is information purposes here. It's not part of revenue, and it just shows up because, for lack of a better answer, that's the way it's always been right here. But this is a contribution from the general fund for Virginia Public Assistance is $632,989. As far as revenue from the Commonwealth, you can see the various things here. The reason recordation tax and tax on deeds, they're kind of combined, and so the 134 is actually both of those together. Personal Property Tax Relief Act, that is the car tax that the county gets reimbursed for, and you can see that it's about $871,000. We did get $28,000 from the Games of Skill. I'm sure you all have seen those in convenience stores, and to be honest with you, I don't know where that stands in the state, and I didn't put anything there for that. The Categorical Aid, this is the Compensation Board funded portion of these offices, and the state gives us estimates to use for budget purposes, and that's what I've used in the past. I used this in '21, I used this in '22, but their actual numbers fall short of their projections that they give us. So what I did this year, I took our actuals from FY '21 and added 5% to each, which is the 5% that the state is projecting or mandating that constitutional officers and their staffs get beginning July 1. So that's why these numbers show decreases, because the projections that they give us have not proven to be true. So that's why I've used that. Our Victim Witness Office is totally funded by grant money, and you'll see there. We do get a per diem for our jail folks. We do have a higher population in our jail now. We have for probably a year. So this number has gone up and will probably continue to go up. Comprehensive Services Act or Children's Services Act. This is for children that can't go to normal regular public school because of various reasons, and they have to go to private day placement or residential placement. Both Dan and I sit on the community policy management team, which regulates that, and we get reimbursed by the state for 42% of our cost associated with that. So that's what that revenue is from. Again, everything on here is based on actuals. I didn't put in a lot of these grants because I don't know at this time if they will materialize. The ones that I am confident that we will get, the LEMPG grant, the Local Emergency Management Planning grant, and the Library of Virginia grant. I'm fairly confident that we'll get those, so I included those. This is the state portion of Virginia Public Assistance. And this is the federal portion of Virginia Public Assistance. This isn't a whole lot of money here on the Capital Projects Fund. Several years ago, the county put some money aside in what they call the Poorhouse Tract Fund. And the money that interest earned on that account is what shows up in these line items. This is the school part, local contribution. This is what they're requesting under the 10 and 10 for local contribution. And I'm not going to go through these numbers because you've already seen these in the school budget when you had your joint work session on the 24th. But as I said, the school board passed their budget on Monday night, and you know, that information was sent to me, and I've put that into the overall budget. And the cafeteria fund, again, you've seen that, textbook fund as well. So that's the revenue side of the equation. Do you have any questions?
Proceed.
And again, I think the goal tonight, you know, this is the initial presentation to the Board of Supervisors of the overall budget. You know, you all, this is online now on the iCompass site, all of the attachments with supporting documentation. You have a printed copy with you to take home, you know, to familiarize yourself with. Department heads and non-governmental organizations will be coming in on March the 29th at 5 o'clock, and again on March 31st, prior to your regular meeting at 5 o'clock, to make their formal requests to you. And so, you know, hopefully you've had time to go through this and, you know, come up with questions that you may have and ask them at that time. So, all right, going down the expenditure side, general government, obviously Board of Supervisors. I didn't include an increase for you all. You didn't tell me that you wanted one, so that's a hard thing to do. So not a whole lot of change here. We did have an 8.48% increase in health insurance this year. Now that seems like a lot, but last year we had a 1% reduction. And so if you average it out over 2 years, it's 3.74%. And I can tell you that since we went with the local choice, which is a state-run group, we're in a pool of over 40,000 people. So our rates are not based on our history. It's based on a larger pool. And typically, you know, if we have any increase, it's very small. So this is the largest increase that we've had. As I said, last year, you all, the prior board, we had a 1% reduction, and the prior board decided to increase the county's contribution toward our employees' health insurance because I had gotten a lot of complaints that other counties contributed more than we did. So right now, the county contributes 90% of the employee only. It contributes 70% of the dual plan and 50% of the family plan. And you know, when the board enacted that last year, that put us first out of the Northern Neck, Middlesex, and Essex, and put us first in the single and second in the family. I believe that's correct. So we're competitive in that regard. And again, you'll see the actual FY21 column, and this is the FY23 column. And again, I base a lot of my estimates on actuals from FY21. County administration, this is my part of the budget. You know, we'll see, obviously, I told you there's a 10% increase across the board. That does not apply to me. I mean, you all amended my contract last month, and you know, that stipulates that I would not get the raises that everybody else got until after my annual review, and assuming that was favorable. So this does not include an increase for me. It also still includes a currently vacant position for an Assistant County Administrator, Economic Development Director, which our Community Business Relations Advisory Committee is helping me write the job description for, because it's a brand-new position. We've never had anything like that. And it's not a typical Economic Development Director position that you would think of, like with the town of Kilmarnock, where you have all of the storefronts and retail. An Economic Development Director for the county is not going to have all of those storefronts, but it's going to be a lot of marketing involved, and how to sell the idea of the BYOJ acronym that Jimmy Carter uses, bring your own job and come here and live and work from home. You know, that's part of it. And to entice, you know, small businesses to come to Lancaster. And so that position will be filled maybe before FY23 begins, but it's still included in here. So, and you can see, I'm not going to go through every one of these. Our insurance, workers' comp has increased based on the actuals, so I've adjusted these numbers based on the actuals. County Attorney Jim Cornwell does a fantastic job for us. He has, you know, 40-plus years as experience as a county attorney. When I see what other counties budget for legal services, I mean, we're really good. We're very fortunate to have him. He did tell me, though, that he was going to go up on his hourly rate 10%, but I think that we can still, you know, stay within budget even if he does that.
Well, if you don't mind, do you mind if we take our leave?
Sure, yeah. Oh, you don't want to stay for the rest of this?
Thank you for having the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Moving forward, Robinson Farmer Cox, our auditor, the last contract that the board approved with them has an $800 increase each year, so that's why that is that way. What I've done here is, you know, the county's required to do a general reassessment between every 4 and 6 years. The last time we did one, we waited 6 years. The commissioner and I talked earlier this week, and I've talked with some real estate agents. I've talked with a general appraiser, and we think that we should do it a year early. So I'm proposing that we do a general reassessment 1 year early, have the work done in calendar year 23 to be effective January 1, 24. The last time we did a reassessment in 2018, the bill was $212,000. So what I've done here is I've added 10% to that. I don't know if that's enough, but for budget purposes, that's what's there. And, you know, I think in what I'm hearing from real estate agents and the commissioner and from the appraiser that we're going to reach the peak of the plateau of this market during 2022. So when they do the work in calendar year 23, they will be using 2022 numbers. So we should be able to capture some increased values, which will generate additional revenue without the board having to increase the tax rate. Commissioner revenue, this is her line item. Most of the change you'll see is in the salary line item. Again, this includes the 10%. She'll be here, I believe, on the 29th and talk about contracted services. I think she wants to tell you about how much the the vehicle values are increasing, and the NADA subscription or service that she uses has gone up as well, so. Nothing in the Board of Equalization. When we do a general reassessment, the year, it'll take effect January 1, 2024. The Board of Equalization will meet during calendar year 2024 and make any adjustments that it deems necessary prior to the tax bills going out that fall. But this won't come into play until FY24. So that's why you see nothing there for that. Treasurer, again, these department heads do fantastic jobs for us. They're already running on as lean a budget as you can imagine. IT, that's Glenn's department. Electoral Board. And there, when you go online and click on the attachments on the iCompass portal, I've got all of the supporting documentation right after these sheets for each group, general government, courts, public safety. So you can get into that and read the narratives that some people have put in here to explain their increases. Of course, when they come before you on the 29th and 31st, they'll be explaining their increases as well. We've always said that if a department head was not requesting an increase, they didn't really need to come to a work session to present if they weren't asking for an increase. So you won't see all of them, but you will see the ones that are requesting an increase. Registrar. So bottom line for total government, you'll see an increase from FY22 of $405,000. 235,000 of that is the appraiser, the general reassessment appraiser that was not in the prior budget, and the rest of it is salaries at the 10%. Any questions on the general government? Courts. Circuit Court, this is what we pay each year to help Judge McKinney maintain his office in Northumberland County. And I'll get the bill for this like in August or September. So I'm just putting the best estimate out there that I can give you based on prior year. General District Court, you can see those numbers. Adult Drug Court, that is something that was put in place maybe 3 or 4 years ago. The Westmoreland County Commonwealth's attorney came before the board and made a presentation. This is to try to keep people out of jail for minor drug offenses, and all of the surrounding counties chipped in to fund that initiative. And I need to go back and check on when that expires. Well, I believe it was for 5 years when the board adopted that. I'm sure Mr. Lee and Mr. Palin remember that. J&DR Court, Clerk of the Circuit Court. Library of Virginia grant. Again, some of these grants I don't know if we're going to get. CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, we usually give $5,000 a year. This is a victim witness position that I was talking about, and this is all state funded and federal funded, no local funds for that. And the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office right here. So, and you'll go through and you'll see that there's an increase of $93,653. Again, most of that is attributable to salaries at 10%. Any questions on the courts? Public safety, this is a big one. Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's Office is broken down into 2 branches, law enforcement and the jail. This one is the law enforcement. You'll see that he's requesting the same amount for overtime, but a small increase for part-time. And this salary line item does include the 2 new dispatcher positions, not only for the ones that you approved in January, but for the 2 that he's asking for effective July 1. And you'll recall that due to state changes in the state code, he'll be required to have 2 dispatchers on duty at all times.
Did he put 10% increase on his too?
10% is included. You know,
For
that-
his
I took care of that, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. All full-time employees and the part-time people that we have working at our convenience center sites,
Yeah.
and our part-time people at the animal control office also get, I put in 10% for them.
How's that gonna work with the, I mean, we're gonna give them the 10%, but you know, the one of the deputies over there that's get some compensation from the state?
They get 10% total, and we would be reimbursed, unless the state budget changes, we would be reimbursed for 5% of that through the compensation board. So 5% of that for those that are funded. Not all of them are funded.
That's why I know it.
Yeah, and see, that's the problem that we've run into in the past with these constitutional officers' offices. Because you can have 2 employees in a constitutional office that are doing the same job. One of them is funded through the compensation board, the state. The other is funded locally. And if the state gives a raise and the local doesn't match it, then you've got 2 people in the same office doing the same job. One gets a raise and one doesn't. And, you know, I can't explain that. You know, so that's been the logic behind the board trying to match what the state is proposing. And, you know, in our earlier conversations with Dan and I, we were talking, we knew that the state was going to mandate 5% across the board, so that's why we said we were going to ask for 5% across the board. Then at the work session, it was brought up about, you know, 7 and 10, so that's where we're at now. So, you can see that the sheriff's office has a pretty good sized budget. He is going to be out of town the last week of this month, but he's going to Zoom in on the 29th and present his budget and answer questions for you. Again, DCGS, Department of Criminal Justice Services, these grants, you know, I'm not sure that we're going to get them. He has 2 school resource officers in a separate line item. Again, some more grants. Volunteer fire departments, they've held steady the past 3 or 4 years at $310,000. Now, during FY21, when they couldn't hold their fundraisers and Kimono couldn't hold their carnival, the fire departments came as a group to the Board of Supervisors, and the board chipped in $83,000 of CARES Act money to help them out. And Matt Smith, their EMS chief, just texted me and basically saying that the volunteer fire departments would like to have a 5% increase. So that's something that you all will have to consider. You know, all of our fire protection services in the county are volunteer. They're not paid as we have with EMS, and the fire departments do an outstanding job. Here's volunteer rescue services. You can see different things here. This bolded line, we get this request each year, contribution to Med Flight 1. It's a company in Chesterfield, based in Chesterfield, and they ask every year, and for the past several years, I know for the last 4 years, the board has not given them this money. So not saying one way or the other, just letting you, mainly for the benefit of Craig and Bill, to know that. And the county contribution to the rescue squads is $115,500, split evenly between the 2. Paid rescue services, this is another big one. You know, we've gone from no paid folks in, I think, 2003 or 4 to now, we have 12 full-time, and we've got 2 vacant positions and numerous part-time folks. And, you know, the paid staff, paid EMS staff is very similar to the teaching problem that Dan has. You've got a very finite pool of qualified people here, and all of the counties are drawing from the same pool. The folks that are working full-time for us are working part-time for surrounding counties when they're not full-time for us, and vice versa. Folks that are working full-time elsewhere are working part-time for us when they're not working full-time for them. Matt's going to be here on the, let me see, when's he coming? Matt's going to be here on the 31st, and he can explain this more, and he's going to really push for 10% for his people, because, you know, we can't afford to lose any of our EMS providers. Like I said, we've only got 12 full-time ones, and we could use 2 more. We've got it in the budget for 2 more, but they're hard to come by.
Can you get Matt to do like he did the last couple of years, just get the surrounding counties, what they paying?
Yeah.
So we see where we at.
Yeah. I'll do that. Let's see. We're getting some more grants. This one, like I said, the local emergency management planning grant, I'm relatively confident we're going to get that. Matt has other line items, public safety radio. This is for the communication towers that we have throughout the county with their emergency radio equipment on. This communication equipment, he tries to replace a certain amount of radios each year so that none of them get totally out of date for our volunteer fire departments. Department of Forestry, this is required by the Code of Virginia. I think it's 9 cents for every acre of forest land in the county, and we have to pay this so that if we have a forest fire, they'll send a plow to plow a line around it. So that's, again, this is required by code. This is another MAT line item, local emergency services. This is the line item that we will use when we have a disaster. And Bill, as the emergency services director or coordinator, it's one of those titles.
It's director.
Director.
I don't know, I just made that up. It sounded better.
If we have a hurricane or tornado like we have had in the past, then, you know, you would have the authority to make a declaration of local emergency. And when you do that, we put $50,000 into this account to help with any type of recovery that is needed. So, and then the board affirms your local declaration at their next meeting.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Let's hope that it doesn't. Yes, correct. Matt does this all the time to me. He could. Okay, Mr. Lee, he obviously, Matt's online, he's listening. He says no one will release their proposals for FY23 when it comes to the salaries. So I've had Westmoreland ask me what ours is, and I haven't responded yet to that. So this is this is the correction, the jail line item for the sheriff's office. And main thing here is there's an increase in food service supplies, and it stands to reason if you have a higher population of inmates, you're going to be serving more food. Same thing with medical services right here. You know, we do recoup a little bit of money based on the higher population from the state, but there's still increased food and medical services there. This is Juvenile, Probation and Detention, the Merrimack Center, again, required by code to contribute a proportionate share based on a formula for all of the counties that they serve. I can't recall what this acronym stands for off the top of my head, but again, that's another one that's required by code. This is the contribution toward the office in Warsaw for the court service unit that we have to pay for, or again, a prorated, a proportionate share. Building inspection, again, most of the change here is in salaries at 10%. And, you know, we have a relatively new building official started in August and a relatively new building inspector started last June. I think they're doing a great job. And let's see, sometimes that thing. Animal control, Jamie Abbott's department. Again, most of it is in salaries. Medical services coroner, we get charged $20 for every autopsy that's performed. We get a bill from the state, and that's what that's for. Total public safety, you'll see an increase, $907,377. Any questions on public safety? Public Works, refuse disposal. This is a big one, and it's getting bigger every year. Currently, we've got 2 full-time people here. We've got 11 part-time folks. If the board decides to approve the expansion of the Kimono Convenience Center site, it will double the size of that site. We're going to have 2 people there all the time instead of 1. In talking with Donald, we think the way best to accomplish that is to convert 3 of our current part-timers to full-time, to pick up additional hours, and then to replace those 3 part-time folks. And that will give us the coverage that we will need for the expanded convenience center site. Now, those full-time positions are not reflected in these numbers because we don't know if the board's going to approve the expansion of that site. So if the board does decide to approve the expansion of that site in the capital improvement budget, we will come back with a supplemental appropriation to take care of those full-time and additional part-time folks. The big thing here is the maintenance service contracts with waste management. You know, the more volume you have, the more money you pay. Brush, waste, wood removal, we just entered into a new contract. The board approved the contract in 2019, I believe, with Ronnie Self, and this is the amount of that contract. Now, it can be more based on the tires, because we just have a flat fee per ton that we pay, and depending on the tonnage, this number could go up. He also, during hurricanes and tornadoes, gets extra money for storm debris that's brought there. So, $106,000 increase there. General properties, this is maintenance of all the county-owned buildings here. We've got 1 custodian and then a part-time cleaning lady. And this department was previously run by the prior building official. I didn't want to throw all of that on my new building inspection staff and building official because they weren't as familiar with everything here as I am. So I'm overseeing this now. You'll see that repairs and maintenance, as buildings get older, you have to maintain more. We had a problem with their boiler when we first started it up for this winter. There's a proposal in the capital improvement budget coming up to look at replacing those in the coming years. But this is just maintenance for this building and the courthouse and the social services building and the sheriff's office and the jail. Also includes, our insurance premiums on motor vehicles, multi-peril, and this is, we pay $2,400 a year for the lease on the Windmill Point boat ramp. So in Public Works, you'll see an increase of $112,595. Any questions on Public Works? Health and Welfare. Health Department has had a little thing called COVID going on for the past couple of years, and I kind of thought that we would see an increase at some point in time for them, and sure enough, it's shown up. And you know, they've been strapped during the COVID situation, and this is probably well justified. And Crystal Reagan, their finance officer, and Dr. Williams, I think, is going to zoom in on. Let me see, what day are they coming? They're coming on the 31st as well. So they'll be able to explain that. And in the supporting documentation, there's some explanation of that increase as well. Free Health Clinic. Free Health Clinic is requesting $135,000. They have a formula based on the amount of service provided to the counties that they provide service to, and that's where they're coming up with this number. They've requested more in past years, but the prior board stuck with this $100,477 figure. Again, not saying one way or the other. This is mainly information for our two new members. Community Services Board, again, required by state code. This is a proportionate share that Lancaster needs to pay for the services that they provide based on the counties that they serve. And I will tell you that the Children's Services Act that I was talking about earlier, that where children who can't attend regular public school for whatever reason, they have to go to private day placement or residential placement. The Community Services Board can a lot of times provide services for those children. And it's a whole lot cheaper if the CSB provides it as opposed to the Children's Services Act through residential placement. So they do a good job.
During COVID, did you see a decrease in the Children's Service Act and the CSB?
No. In
Stayed
fact,
about the
ours
same.
went up.
Went up?
Yeah. Bay Aging, you'll see here, relatively flat on the Bay Aging. Bay Transit, a small increase. You'll notice here the actual money for Bay Transit is way down in FY21. That's because they actually received CARES Act money directly. And so they passed that on to the localities. And, well, I mean, they passed that savings on to the localities. They were able to pay for a lot of their services with that CARES money, and so they didn't request as much from the localities. Some of these probably need to come off. This is one that's been on there for years, but here's one, used to be Rappahannock Legal Services. It's called Legal Aid Works. They provide free legal service to mainly low-income folks in our county and surrounding counties. This is another one that makes a request every year, and for whatever reason, the board has not funded it for many years. Again, just information for you. The Haven, that's for battered women, requesting $4,000 level. And this is the Comprehensive Services Act, the Children's Services Act that Mr. Palin just asked about. And, you know, we were in a pattern of budgeting $600,000 for that. And then in '22, I bumped it up to $800,000, and I'm sticking with $800,000. We look pretty good right now on the budget for FY22, not to exceed it. But you'll see in FY21, I had to come back and ask the board to appropriate a supplemental of $203,000. So, and it still fell short. Social Services has a separate budget. They get quite a bit of money from the state and feds. Their overall budget request is $2.938 million. But the local part of that, what comes from Lancaster County, is $632,000. Now, that is an increase from last year and the year before. It had been in the upper 400s. But Francine Pinkard will be here on the 31st as well to answer questions. Boys and Girls Club asking for level funding at $35,000. Healthy Harvest Food Bank is asking for an increase of $4,000 increase to $5,000.
Weren't they supposed to keep that level of funding once we did it?
Well, that had something to do with the building that they built in Richmond County, and Richmond County told them to go and get funding contributions from the surrounding counties, and that they would abate their taxes on that building. And I don't know if that's ever occurred.
It hadn't been done last year.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah. And Paul Shakatano will be here for that one on the 31st as well. So total health and welfare is an increase of $775,838. And again, there's a lot of, actually, I think it's 500 and some pages that I just put on that iCompass website this afternoon of supporting documentation for all of this. So you can look at that at your leisure.
Thank you.
This is non-K-12 education. This is the county's contribution to RCC. That's level funded from last year. Recreation and Culture, YMCA asking for level funding, $50,000. We get a small request from the Virginia Historical Society, used to be called Maryball Washington Museum and Library. In the past, the electrical services had gone up, and they kept submitting level funding. So we adjusted that last year, and I kept the same total, but adjusted some of the contribution towards electrical services. And so now Karen Hart is coming back saying that she wants that 3,000 contribution back. So she'll be here as well on, let me see, where is she at? On the 31st as well. So, Community Library, they're requesting $122,995. They made this request a couple of years ago. The board chose to only give them $112,995. The board actually gave them the $122,995 one year, but cut it back to $112,995 last year. And the issue is they have quite a large endowment, and I think our board was wondering if they couldn't fund more of their services from that endowment than coming to the county. The other thing was that the board wanted them to seek contributions from the town of Kimono, mainly since the library is located within the town, and the other towns as well. And I know that they have gone out and requested funding. And Alice Cooper will be here. I think Alice is coming on the 20, let me see, where is she at?
while you looking at that, I think, and Don, you, Mr. Pale, helped me out so that
31st.
they would know there was something complicated mixed up with the state,
The
what the
state.
state fund and what the locality had to fund in order for them to get the money from the state. So-
Yeah, they were worried about losing some of the money they get from the state if we didn't contribute a certain percentage.
Yeah.
And so that led to this increase, but that was, over 5 years, and it increased every year. But we haven't seen that since.
Right.
So, but again, she'll be here on the 31st. So,
I think she said last year when she came before the board that had been rectified.
Yeah.
Changed.
Youth Club, they're asking for a $5,000 increase. Board has been giving them $10,000 for the past several years.
What's the youth club?
The ballpark, Little League.
All right, yeah, okay.
So recreation and cultural activities, you'll see an increase, small increase, only $15,600. questions on that? Community development. We used to make a contribution to the Northern Neck Chesapeake Bay Region Partnership, but Jerry Davis at the PDC was able to find a way to fund that and not request a donation from the counties moving forward. Rappahannock River Basin Commission, Jason sits on that. They requested $1,000. That's level funded for many years. Land Use Administration, I thought Brian came in earlier. Did he leave?
He was.
Okay. This is Brian's department here. You'll see an increase in salaries here. That is the department that has the vacant environmental codes compliance officer position right now. And you remember back when I was talking about revenues and how the building permits had basically doubled. That wing is getting a lot of foot traffic during the course of a day. And what I'm proposing is that we add a new position on that hall. It's new to that hall, but I want to explain it this way. Up until 2012, there's an extra desk in Betty's office, and we had a person sitting in there behind that desk, Zena Middleton, who was the deputy clerk to the Board of Supervisors. She left, found some greener pastures elsewhere and left. And, you know, that was right after the recession. So the board, the county, we didn't fill that position. We split the duties of that position between Crystal and Betty, and we moved forward. It seemed like a good thing to do because it was after the recession, and you know, we wanted to show that we could tighten our belts, and just like the private sector, and make do with less employees. But we've gotten to the point now where there's so much going on in the building department and planning and land use that I want to bring that position back and just reassign it. Instead of over there, I want to take it as a permit technician on that hall to aid the amount of traffic that hall is seeing now. So that's and you'll see that in the printed version that you have with you, you'll see it at the very back where everyone is listed in the personnel section. And I know Brian is looking forward to that as well. So, other than that, not a whole lot of changes there. Department of Housing, that's Tina Reamer's office, helps with the old indoor plumbing rehabilitation project, also the Virginia Department of Housing, or AKA Section 8, and we do get reimbursed from the state, as I said earlier, for about $34,800 of her salary. Planning District Commission, the PDC, all of these are what other counties pay, and we do get value for this. There was a lot of talk about this in prior years, but and Jerry did drop, like I said, he took we used to pay something for a sign of highway, and he found a way to fund that without asking the counties for money, just like he did with the Northern Neck Chesapeake Bay Region Partnership. So the Broadband Authority, you'll see here they have requested less money than they did last year, which is a good thing. You know, they've entered into, the county's entered into this agreement with Dominion and All Points Broadband, which will bring fiber to all unserved locations in the county by the end of 2023. The areas that are currently served by other providers, you know, I'm told and I'm seeing that Breezeline in particular is doing a lot of upgrades. So I think they see some competition down the road, and I think I got a call from someone in Manasquan the other day, said they're laying cable down here for broadband, and you know, they think I know the answer, but I had to call and find out what was going on, and it was Breezeline running cable into Manasquan. So Soil and Water Conservation District, County used to give them $10,000 a year. Last year, we did $15,000, and they're requesting $15,000 this year. Wetlands Board, we budget for 9 Wetlands Board meetings a year. Board of Zoning Appeals, we budget for 4 Board of Zoning Appeals meetings a year. Planning Commission, we budget for 11 Planning Commission meetings a year. Extension Service, you'll see an increase in the Extension Service. That's due to the state chipping in and filling the Family and Child Services Extension Agent position. I think I got that name right. You remember Tara Brent came before the board a few months ago and said that the state had decided to refill that position and was asking for the money then. They have not filled it as of yet, but they actually are conducting interviews at the end of this month. So it's getting close to being filled. So that's what that increase is there. River Realm branding, that's, county has contributed $25,000 for many years toward that. This is a brand new one, the Bay Consortium Workforce Development Board. They are asking, they serve many counties as well. I went to a board meeting on Monday for this. They try to place people in jobs, kind of like what the Virginia Employment Commission used to do. And so they have come up with a formula to request funding from all the counties they serve, and this is the share that they're asking from Lancaster. So overall, in the community development, you'll see a decrease of $120,300, but that was because the Broadband Authority came in with such a reduced request for FY23. Non-departmental, this is for the landfill that we will forever be responsible for up at Lara. I'm asking for additional funds here. As you know, there's some adjacent land that may be available, and so I've put that money in there for the possible purchase of that land jointly with the other owners, Northumberland and Richmond County. Enhanced Emergency Telephone System, this is another department that Glenn manages. You know, the E911 service, that's in here. Just really nowhere else to put it, so that's why it's put in under non-departmental. Transfers, these are just transfers from the general fund to various other funds. The general fund is Fund 100. So you'll see these numbers, you know, 105 is public assistance, 251 is a school, and so on. Referring to the schools, you heard from them earlier, you know, they're requesting that they adopted the 10 and 10, and that's what these numbers reflect. This is what they are requesting by category. When you all do approve the school budget, you have the option of approving it lump sum and allowing them to move money around between the categories, or approving it by category. For the last several years, the board has done it by lump sum, entrusting the school board to make good decisions, moving the money around within the categories. There have been years, though, that the board chose to appropriate the funding to the school board by category.
And when it's line item, they have to come before the board when they make a transfer from one line to another.
Yeah. So you'll see, and I just threw these numbers in here. You know, their FY22 average daily population was 976, and on the well, I don't know if it's on the handout that I gave you tonight, but on their budget, they're showing an ADM of 930, and when you divide this total amount by this number, you get a cost per pupil. So that's just informational.
Do we know where we rank there?
I think our cost per pupil is pretty high. I don't know exactly.
Well, enrollment's decreasing.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it has decreased over the past years, but I think Dan will tell you that he thinks the enrollment is going to start going up.
Right, with the new school and,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So. Capital improvements, you won't see anything in FY '23 column as of yet. That's because, as I told you, the Planning Commission is holding their public hearing on the proposed capital improvement budget next Thursday night. And once they have made a recommendation, I will come in and include that in this budget. Back on the synopsis page, the capital improvements were listed under the general operating budget, and that's for the reason being that you're going to have some large ticket items on there this year. You know, new schools, enlarging the Kimono Convenience Center site, replacement of our emergency radio communication system, which is mandated by the federal government to go digital by 2025. So what I'm getting at is, in order to fund these, the next capital improvement budget, you're going to have a new financing. And so, you know, the only money that was going to come out of the general operating budget for the capital improvement budgets will be under debt service to fund that, to service that new financing. And I don't believe that we'll have anything in place to where we'll have to make a payment in FY '23. I think the debt service will pick up in FY '24 and beyond. So, and I think once the board has approved a capital improvement budget, you know, my intention would be to get our financial consultants, Davenport Public Finance, here maybe in May or June, and go over the options that the board would have for, you know, large financing. It could be Virginia Public School Authority, it could be USDA, could be something that's, that they know about and I don't. So. But this will show you the items that was approved in FY '22, if you weren't familiar with them already. It was $1.699 million worth of projects. Now, not all of them have been completed. Obviously, we're kind of in the middle of a lot of them, but the board chose to fund those items out of the general fund instead of borrowing for them. And the last item is debt service. Here's where I told you the short-term revenue anticipation note. We typically would get that money in August, maybe as late as September, and we would pay it back in December. But based on prior estimates, this is what was adopted for FY '22. That may be a little high based on FY '21 actuals, but we got a really sweet deal the last time we did this, and I'm not sure that we could get that again, so that's why those numbers are there. You know, and I think we would need to do it if you all choose to go down the road of 10%. If you choose something different and we can get that fund reserve figure above that $6 million, I don't believe that revenue anticipation note would be necessary.
I think we need to keep our fund reserve where we don't have to worry about an anticipation note.
This is the school energy performance. This is that Virginia Resource Authority 2010 bond that I was talking about earlier. You can see this is actual numbers of what we do in FY '23. So that's, you've got this note. You've got this note with USDA for the Greentown gas and sewer system. This is at an unbelievable like 1.92 interest rate, but I believe it's like 40 years. So that's the second note that you currently have. You'll see all of these others listed over here. I left them because they had FY '21 actuals, but they were paid off, rolled into the refinancing that we did here in 2020 with the Virginia Resource Authority, and the note to fund the renovation of the middle school into an elementary school with the Virginia Public School Authority bond in 2020. So that's your debt service, and there's another page here that actually lists out the payments per year. So you'll see that with that VRA 2020 refunded bond that we did in 2020, we're going to pick up $800,000 after FY '25 in debt service, And after FY '26, we're going to pick up another 200,000 here. So by the end of '26, you'll have another $1 million in debt service to go towards new financing to help pay for whatever you decide to do with capital improvement items coming down the pipe.
That might be needed.
What's that?
That might be needed.
So that's the debt service tab. The summary is basically the synopsis, the original page, just in a different form, but it also shows capital improvement projects. And we can go back to the synopsis page, which again has all of this broken down. Shucks, what did I do? I hit the wrong one. There we go. So you have a printed copy of this draft version, which is 10%, based on the fact that the school board adopted a 10% across the board in their budget. I also gave you the one-page synopsis if, for a different scenario, it's 10% teachers and EMS and 5% everyone else. So you can see where the fund reserve would fall in that scenario. So,
And that's based on that we do all the questions that you got in there.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now, if you start cutting other
Yeah.
places, that will change.
Because, you know, even with the 10 and 5, we just barely get above the 6 million.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And I will say, you know, we typically underestimate our revenues and overestimate our expenditures in our budget process, which is a good thing.
That is a good thing.
And so that's how we've been able to build the fund reserve, because, you know, I assumed this role in 2018, and, you know, we had a fund balance as low as 1.9 million.
Yeah, we were.
And so because we typically underestimate our revenues and overestimate our expenditures, we've been able to grow that fund reserve. So that's really all I have for you. You know, I'll be glad to answer any questions. The one thing I do need to know is I'm going to need to advertise the school budget on the 24th of this month, so you all can hold your public hearing on the 31st. Is there any heartburn with me advertising what the school board adopted?
Because we can always go less.
You can always go less.
Yeah.
Just gonna make you look bad.
So, I mean, we won't meet again until I have to advertise, so I really need you
So
to,
that, in all sincerity, that's the best way to go, is
Yeah.
to advertise what.
No,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
yeah.
The only thing I'd like to see different with all of this, Don, is somewhere along the way, I'd like to see, I mean, I see the proposals, but I also like to see a recommendation. And that's because I'm a layperson who knows nothing about most of these organizations, and you've been dealing with them for a long time. So your opinion is very important to me, so that I'm not guessing. So I really would like to see that. Not just with what people are asking, but also with the salary proposals. I'd like to see that as well.
Well, you know, that's why I gave you that one pager. 10% would be unprecedented. Now, I don't want to, you know, all of my employees are worth 10%. They're worth more than that
But it is a.
for the raise.
that
It is. It's unprecedented, and it's going to come with some consequences, as I've showed you, because you're going to deplete the fund reserve to a point where we're going to have to get a revenue anticipation note. I can foresee problems if by not matching what the state is doing. I think that's how the county has gotten into these salary issues in the past, by, you know, giving maybe more than what the state had recommended, or giving something when the state gave nothing. And then when the state came in and said, you know, we're mandating this for all constitutional officers and their staff, I think the board has felt, you know, compelled to match it at that point, even though they may have not wanted to. So I will tell you that we had a county administrators meeting on Monday, and that Northumberland, Richmond and Westmoreland County are asking for 5%
And that's
To
what
ma-
the state is
to
recommending.
match the state
State.
recommendation. So,
So I'm okay with the 10% for our teachers. I'm fine with that, and I think that's long past due. But with our deputies, we're now competing with the state. But I think the state starting salary for state troopers is like 51,000. And what are we? Are we even 40,000?
oh, yeah, we're above 40,000, but we're not at 50. No.
For starting
Right, yeah.
deputies?
No, I mean, it's like mid-40s.
Okay.
See, but now, you gotta make sure you're clear on this now. 'Cause
Okay.
You said you're okay with the teachers at 10%,
Right.
but you didn't say,
I didn't say that.
but the other, employees, because right now, what we would propose 10 and 10. 10 and 10, 10 for the teachers and 10 for everybody else. All
But
your
see,
other.
but that 10 for everyone else, I see them as my county employees. So if I do it for them,
You gotta do
I
it for county.
cannot.
That's right, and that's what I've been thinking about for the last week or so.
So I'm thinking of a number like 10 and 6.5 or 7. Or your recommendation, if that's your recommendation, of 10 and 5.
But his recommendation is 10 and 10.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Well, I built the budget on 10 and 10.
10 and 10.
Because
Yeah,
I,
they all built it on 10 and 10 from what
Right.
we
Yeah.
talked about.
yeah,
But that, like Don said, that's unprecedented. I don't think it is for our teachers, just because we need them, we have to have them. If you don't have teachers, none of this matters to us, whether we're meeting tonight or building a school, so, and we have to be competitive.
Okay, the last time we met with the school board, the joint meeting, I was pushing for hire for the others. Now, the others include not just the custodians and the clerks and your secretaries and things of that nature. It also includes your principals, assistant principals. All right, now, after the meeting, I set a appointment, went in and I talked with Dan. Because what I really want to see the paraprofessionals, that's what we call the assistant, teacher's assistants. To see the paraprofessionals, the janitorials, the clerical works and the secretaries to get a higher pay. Now, listening to Dan, he was saying, if you start setting steps or certain things, that presents a problem with them negotiating when they first go out to hire someone. But I want to meet with him again and talk to him about raising that up. Gotta come up with something to help these people out. Making $12,000, $15,000 today don't mean a whole lot. All right, they're hurting them. So thinking about those things, I've been thinking too, I sort of like, because I see you gotta go back and work with that as far as the 5 or the whatever for those people. Now, his first proposal was 7% for teachers and 5% for others. And that, what was that? 7% included us, for the teachers was
it was,
something, a one step and a, 6%?
it was 5.5% plus the step
Plus the
made
step
made
made
7%.
All right, and thinking about our total budget, what we end up at the end of the year, so on, so we have at least 6 million left. I can't go with the 10. I'm looking at maybe, what he presented in the beginning, 5 and 7. All right, and from this standpoint, we're matching the state with the 5 and going 2% higher. Next year, they can come back and make up the difference. Because the state is talking about 5 and 5, right? 5 and 5. So we're going 2% higher than the 5, then come back next year and make up the difference. That's the way I'm thinking now. And I want to sit down with Dan and discuss what can we come up with for the paraprofessionals and the secretaries and so on.
Let me ask you, because you close to this than I am.
Yeah.
What kind of way could you work it out where you could have the starting salary higher than what it is now and still make the increase,
Right.
the 7% or something like that? I'd like to see that starting salary go to 45,
Well, for the teacher.
For the teachers,
Yeah.
starting salary for the teachers go to
And
45.
that's what percent?
And see, that's,
Yeah, he mentioned that would be 6.57% plus,
Well-
Plus the 1.5.
plus the 1.5 step.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, so that's looking at 7%.
That would be 8.07
Eight
total.
point oh, okay.
Does that pose a problem with teachers hired last year, that if we're gonna just throw that new teacher salary out there, and we have a teacher
No.
that's only 1 year into it, are they gonna,
No, because he's gonna build that into his whole entire budget,
okay.
and they'll take care of that with the step process. All right.
I just like, you know, I like to see that starting salary up there, you know,
Well,
Around
I can go with that.
Yeah.
I can go with that part of it. And,
but I guess I wrote that 6.5 down, but I guess I wasn't catching the part that, break the step part. I didn't home in on the step part, so it was 6.5 plus a step.
Yeah, plus 1.5% for the step.
Uh-huh,
Yeah, actually, it was like 6.570, so,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it would end up being 8.07 to the teachers, is
To
what
the
he said.
teachers.
And
Yeah.
that would get us to the 45, is
Yeah.
what he quoted,
that would get us to the 45,
yeah.
and then that's leaving the others at 5%.
Yeah, I like that proposal too. I agree with what Bill's saying. I like to see the teachers get to 45
Yeah.
and do what we can to help the others. But I don't think we ought to sabotage our fund balance.
I agree.
You know, that, we've got it at a nice spot. It's gonna take a little bit of a hit right now, but I don't think we ought to go below the 6. I agree with what Mr. Palin said on that earlier. And
And-
that's what I feel.
And I will tell you that each 1% of increase for county employees amounts to $51,845. Each 1%.
All right, so we're talking about bringing the teachers up to 45. And then as far as the others, and the others include the administrators as well. At 5, leave them at 5?
5.
Okay. All right, but I wanted to sit down and talk with Dan, because I'd like to see the administrators are good. I mean, they're good, they're going along with, they have been working with them. And I like to see the other people, the other ones, the people with the lower salaries, something being done that way. I know, well, that's enough.
Well, you,
Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's something, if you got with Dan for the next cycle, that he could come up, derive a plan that might address some of
Yeah.
that.
So what do
Not
we-
for this year,
Yeah,
yeah, for the following
For
year.
the following
So what
year.
is the proposal for the other teachers? What are our teachers we're proposing?
Whatever it is to bring them up to
no,
45.
I think what Mr. Palin was saying was the 6.57%, and then plus
And the
their
step.
step
Okay.
takes them to 8.07, but gets them to the 45,000 starting salary. So, you know, the 6.57%, you know, maybe you all want to try to match that for everybody else.
6.57.
I don't know.
What would that do with our,
I can't tell you that right now. I got to,
see what you.
that's a
you
lot
bring-
of input into the,
If you don't mind, bring that back to
Yeah.
us.
Well, you know,
I'd be okay looking at that as well.
yeah.
And it's-
Each 1%, as I said, is $51,845.
Well, work those numbers, 'cause I think that's where I would be happy at. Now, you know, if we can get everybody else around that 6.5, and the teachers overall gonna be at 8 something, you know.
Yeah.
And the starting salary gonna be at 45.
Yeah,
And you can talk to,
yeah, see what I can do with
see
that.
what we can do,
I'm just
in the
worried,
next cycle.
Yeah,
I'm worried we may get too close to our fund balance of what we want, minimum.
Yeah. Well,
Well, you'll tell us
Just
if
think.
Yeah.
if we're getting
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
and, you know, I just, you know, we operated for several years with a fund balance less than $6 million.
yeah.
Well,
It can be done.
Well, one of the things, Craig and Bill, y'all want to understand too, we still can look at some of these other places
Oh, yeah.
in this budget
Yeah,
that
where-
we might not want to increase.
Right.
Oh, I
yeah,
agree, yeah.
What people are asking for.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm gonna have to rely on you for that. I mean, I don't know.
We
lied.
usually have a pretty good discussion on the
Yeah.
board. when we
I
get-
think you-
So Jeannie,
Yeah.
so Jeannie reached out to me.
Yeah, she did
Jeannie,
to
and she
me,
wants
too.
to walk through, so
Yeah, well,
Yes.
we all know what it's.
and you two should sit down
And
with
we,
her.
and we should do that, but
Yeah.
in the end, me walking through 15 minutes is not gonna make me an expert
Oh,
in,
no, no.
free healthcare, so.
Yeah. And what we usually do when it comes into the board, we just, after they make their presentation, then we sit down and start discussing those things by the line item. We discuss each thing, and if you got a question, comments, we hash it out.
And if she offers wine and cheese, I'm gonna give her whatever she wants, so I am not the person to go.
But I will tell you this, they have a good story to tell.
Yeah, they do.
They do have a good
They
story
do.
to tell.
And it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
it's a good thing.
The problem is all of them are good things.
Yeah.
Well, and you need to look at the supporting documentation.
Yeah.
That, because, you know, they've been asked to provide financials. You know, some of them will submit their Form 990 tax returns, some will submit their annual reports. They've been asked for a 5-year history of their own fundraising efforts, so you can see how they're doing in those regards. You know, I think once they make their presentation, you know, my experience has been that you're gonna know pretty quickly from you all sitting up there where the majority lies.
Yeah.
And so that's,
Yeah. Any
Is that-
concerns we have, we'll voice it.
Is that documentation you're talking about in here yet, or is that to come?
it's on there.
It's on there now,
Yep,
okay.
Yep. All you gotta do is click on, and it's broken down, you know, I've got an attachment for general government.
Yeah,
I've got an attachment for courts, and
Yeah.
you'll see the Excel spreadsheet, or 2 or 3 are the first, and then it's all the supporting documentation after that,
okay, thank you.
so, yeah.
Yeah, the one thing it's hard, I asked Don today, that is trying to approve the school board before you know everything. That makes it a little bit harder, because you're trying to, yeah, I think we'll get there as far as that, but you're not 100% sure.
Yeah, well, see, state code requires
We
that
gotta get it done.
you gotta get it done by
Yeah.
May 15th.
Well, we have contracts.
You got contract, you gotta go through
Contracts,
that.
we have
You
to
gotta do it, so,
Yeah.
but that makes it a little bit tougher. You can't be quite exact on all of it, on the fund balances as
And you
far
know,
as that.
you may get some people coming out for the public hearing, and, you know, you may hear something
And
that,
bring wine and cheese.
you
We
you
might
may, you may hear something that changes your mind, or maybe not.
have- I have a feeling we'll have some. 10% always brings people out.
Yeah.
I think it caused a few letters to the editor in the paper today, I'm told. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I
I
saw
figured that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so surprised. I said, oh, we gonna hear from that.
So,
Yeah, there were a few letters.
Well, it's all Jason's fault. And I'm gonna blame it on him.
All right, Judge, we have anything else?
well, I will work on, you know, coming up with numbers for that 6.57%.
All right.
Across the board. And, you know, I'm hearing from you all, it's okay to go ahead and advertise the school budget that was adopted by the school board.
Yeah.
And then when your regular board meeting package comes out on the, what is it, the
31st.
25th, that
Oh,
Friday?
to 25th, yeah.
Let me see. When that comes out on the 25th, that Friday, it will include an agenda for the meeting on the 29th as well. And I'll have a list of all of those folks who are going to be presenting before you on the 29th. And the same thing, you'll have an agenda for the 31st that will show all the folks who are coming in.
So our next
that
meeting is the 29th.
Your next meeting is March the
Five.
29th at 5 o'clock.
Is it pretty balanced, or is it heavy on one night?
No,
versus
it's
another?
actually pretty balanced. It just so happened that everyone that I seemed to hit on tonight was 31st, but you could see
Oh, okay.
29th and 31st.
And
How
Mr.
much-
Palin, you gonna use the 3-minute rule?
How much time they left?
Is there a
How
3-minute
much
rule?
time
No.
they left?
We allow each one 5 minutes.
We allow them to,
Big list.
we allow them to present. We don't try to hold them down unless they
Yeah.
get outrageous.
Yeah, and we set a time limit it has been 5 minutes in the past for them to present.
Yeah, usually I don't say too much if they
Yeah.
run over that. but-
Yeah, you all listen and then ask questions and then
Yeah.
move on to the next.
Yeah.
You're not really making any decisions at that
Right.
time unless you want to.
Right.
You know, So I don't have anything else for you at this point on the budget, but